Hello, everyone. Welcome to the LPTV Club, where we discuss different shows across the Walt Disney Company and recap them and share what else is worth watching. Today, we are going to be talking about Big Shot, Mighty Ducks Game Changers, Star Wars The Bad Batch, High School Musical, the musical, the series, The Simpsons, and M.O.D.O.K. So, joining me for all of that, we have Mac,
Hey.
Alex,
Hello.
Rebecca.
Hey.
So, I don't quite know where to start this week. I guess we should start with one of the places. We'll start with one animated adult comedy and end with another one. So we'll start with The Simpsons, Alex.
Cool. Well, I just watched it, so it's very fresh in my mind. It's called The Last Bar Fighter, and this episode pokes a lot of fun at Indiana Jones as a franchise, but particularly the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I think is what it's called. That one. I think Lenny makes a line that says, "It's my least favorite Indiana Jones movie and my most favorite Shia LaBeouf movie," which I think is accurate for a lot of people.
That's funny.
Bart Simpson somehow ends up winning. I can't remember how, but he won a skull-shaped bottle of tequila. Do you remember how?
Tell you, yeah. So he goes to a taping of a Spanish language game show or late night show or something like that. And there's a game where they fill their mouths with horchata. And the thing is that they can't laugh, and he wins because he doesn't understand what's happening.
So yes, so Bart wins this cursed crystal skull full of tequila, which makes Homer very jealous. He's apparently always wanted to drink alcohol he can't afford out of a shaped vessel.
Who doesn't?
So Homer, yeah, oh yeah, exactly. Who doesn't? That's why. I mean, that's why Trader Sam's makes money hand over fist. So,
That's a good point.
Anywho, Homer does end up taking it, but that's really the side story that plants a lot of fun Indiana Jones jokes. The real A plot is that bartenders have a secret society, and after the bars close at 3 a.m., they all get together, and as the listeners of everyone else's drunken problems, they then share them. So when Homer brings this skull bottle of tequila into Moe's and invites Moe to come on the other side of the bar and sit with them as a friend and have a shot, he gets drunk and spills secrets from other people around Springfield. One of them that sticks out is Mayor Quimby, who's always cheating on his wife with another mistress, is the mayor of another town, so he's cheating on Springfield. In the same way, Patty and Selma file their taxes as a single person. So there's some fun things that come out of there. And then there's also this moment where they realize that the secret society, when they find out that a bartender tells other patrons the secrets, they have to basically take away their ability to drink. They inject them with something that makes it so they can't stomach alcohol anymore. They watch it happen to Barney. He goes through a variety of terrible side effects, and now they're coming for Homer. There's this moment where Homer, Lenny, and Carl realize just how many bars there actually are in Springfield, because they only ever really go to Moe's. There's been a few times where we've seen other competitors for Moe come in. I think that's how the Flaming Moe got created in the first place, was there was some healthy competition and Moe needed to step up his game. But now we see an endless supply of bars in Springfield, because it turns out everybody is miserable in both their job and their marriage in Springfield. And there's some really funny names. I highly recommend pausing as you go through it to see some of those. I'm not sure if you caught any, Kyle, that stuck out to you.
I don't remember now.
One of them was like a kiddie-friendly sounding thing, and it even looked on the exterior like a daycare, but it was a bar. But I mean, it's fun. Basically, everyone who is a bartender turns into an assassin trying to find Homer, Lenny, and Carl and Moe to stop them. Homer ultimately gets thwarted by Dr. Hibbert, who it turns out worked his way through medical school as a bartender. So he's still sworn into the oath and is the one who finally got Homer because he didn't think he had to run. And it's a really fun episode. I really enjoyed it. It's funny too how the Simpsons family reacts to finding out that Homer can no longer drink, because it's kind of a celebratory thing for everybody but him, because his drinking has gotten the family into a lot of trouble over the 30 plus years that the show has been running, and the kids have remained the same age.
What I thought was interesting about this episode is Homer obviously learns to spend more time with his family. And then eventually, they're still friends with Mo. They forgive him for all the mean things he said. And so then they're offered the cure so that they can drink alcohol again. And Lenny and Carl take it, but Homer declines. And you see them chasing after him with the thing. So it's kind of like a cliffhanger for the season finale here. Like, will Homer not drink anymore and be a better family man? I doubt it. I doubt they'll ever reference this again. But it was an interesting idea for a season finale and kind of a poignant end there.
Yeah, I would say I don't think they've really ended a season on a cliffhanger since Somebody Shot Mr. Burns. It was Maggie. But yeah, they don't usually a season finale for The Simpsons is kind of just like any other episode. This one did have a feeling of like an arc came to fruition, but I doubt that Homer will be done with Duff when the next season rolls around. It's too big a part of the show.
I don't watch a lot of Simpsons, but I don't think of them as poignant. Is this
actually, if you go back, not so much recently, but if you go back to like the first 5 seasons, there are a lot of Simpsons episodes that really touch on what it's like to be a child in a world that's very adult.
Okay.
Which I find, having watched it as a kid and then watching it as an adult, there's different things that I take away from that. Lisa in particular, for me, is usually the character that I most identify with because she just has these moments of like, why am I more responsible than the adults in the room? Which was something I had as a theme in my childhood. So I enjoy it. I guess it depends who you are, where you come from.
There's silly episodes, but then there are some that have more heart than others, I'd say, for sure.
Yeah.
But have you ever seen the actual Crystal Head vodka in stores?
In person, no. I think on ads, yes.
Okay. And I believe it's Dan Aykroyd that owns that company. So
yeah,
kind of based on a real thing. This was Crystal Skull vodka, or that was The Simpsons had Crystal Skull tequila. This is Crystal Head vodka, but same difference. What do you want to do next? I'll give it to you. Do you want to do Mighty Ducks or Big Shot?
Let's do Mighty Ducks because Mighty Ducks is very much winding down. Actually, tomorrow will be the 10th and final episode of the season. I don't think we've had any announcements of a renewal yet, but this episode was titled Head Games, and it finds the Ducks getting to state championships, but they don't yet play the game. Marshall, in his recap, I think said something to the effect of there's shockingly little hockey in this episode of a hockey show. And this one was much more character development, particularly for the kids. In particular, exploring the concept of crushes. They haven't really led to that much yet. There's been a few lines, like Nick had his silly little crush on the concessions girl at the ice rink. But here you find the main character who they've kind of alluded to having a crush against the girl who came from the Ducks with him. But now he gets up the nerve to ask her to this dance that they're having for all of the teams that are there to play. Her girls kind of encourage her to just keep it a girls' night. So she says no. He gets jealous, invites somebody else. She then shows up with one of the guys from the Ducks who's sort of a bully to him. So it kind of became this weird little love triangle going on. And then you also see Nick kind of get a little victory. Someone that he likes, that he doesn't think would ever like him. It all gets planted and he kind of ends up with maybe a girlfriend at the end of the episode. Gordon Bombay, I would say, gets a little more development here. One of my criticisms of the show is Gordon Bombay hasn't really felt like Gordon Bombay to me, but there are moments in this one where he kind of pulls a fast one on the current coach of the Mighty Ducks. I can't remember the character's name, but the guy from Descendants 2 and 3. He's one of Ursula's gangs or Uma's gang. But he kind of tricks him into doing something that he really wanted to happen. He manipulates him very well. And then with Alex's character, we kind of see her getting to be more of an adult with adults for the first time this season. She's mostly been relegated to, being in charge of the kids, and we saw how that erupted in the previous episode. But with this one, she really does step up to the bat, not only for her boss, who they've had kind of a love-hate relationship all season. Now they seem like they're going to be the best of friends going forward after this episode. But also, she uses her legal savvy to help Gordon Bombay be able to actually be the coach of the Don't Bothers, because through his previous dismissal by the, I think they said NCAA, but I don't know sports. Thank you, Rebecca. Through the NCAA, he's not allowed to coach, and technically these teams are part of it. But she argues that because none of the Don't Bothers were scouted by the NCAA, it doesn't count for their team, and he can still coach. So they kind of get him through on this interesting little loophole, which I thought was fun. It really sets up well the finale episode, which I think is going to be a lot of hockey. It has to be, since they've got to play these games at state. You can kind of predict where it's going to go. I would be shocked if the Don't Bothers don't at least make it to the number 2 spot and then, feel like they're doing well and get upcharged for the next season or something like that. That's what I think is going to happen. I don't think they'll win it. I think they'll get number 2 and then have this renewed vigor next season. And next season, they'll cream the Ducks, or they'll become the Ducks somehow. Something's going to happen. Anyway, that's my...
Yeah, no, I enjoyed this episode. There was no truer moment than the moment where the girls were convinced her to say no to him because, we're going to have a girls' weekend. We're going to have a girls' weekend. They walk through the door of the hotel. It's a group of 3 girls. They walk through the doors of the hotel. One of them goes off for like 30 seconds, comes back with cute boy. Oh, bye. And she disappears. And they're like, what? Like, no truer moment ever. It's
Girl.
like, what? Girls' weekend. Soon as a guy shows up, it's done. So no. So I felt so much pain for that girl. She's like, wait, you talked me out of saying yes to that guy. So yeah.
I want to ask too. Did you also feel like you couldn't trust the boss, Alex's boss, because we just saw Gordon Bombay get manipulated by the coach, and I kind of felt like the same thing was about to happen with Alex. And I mean, at least so far so good, but I felt like, no, don't trust her.
Right?
The only reason I didn't think of that was because it seemed like she genuinely didn't know that Alex was in the office when she was having that very vulnerable conversation with her husband. So I felt like, no, they were really having a genuine connection, as hard as that may be for Alex's boss.
I was waiting, however, for something to like a call to arrive or something, and then it to instantly like switch off. Like they had been really, really tight, and then something kind of corporate related would happen, and then it was instantly back to the distanced position it had been. I didn't expect instead it to be Alex needs help and this continuation of the friendship as she goes, hey, we can drive my ex's super fast car. Yeah, that's where I was surprised. I was kind of in that same mode as Matt, kind of, okay, when's this other shoe gonna drop? When's this other shoe gonna drop?
I'm also now aware of the concept of a cheese fridge, and that's my new goal in life.
New life goal?
My new life goal. I've never wanted like a wine fridge or a beer cooler, but if I could have like a specialty fridge for high-end cheeses.
A cheese fridge.
Yeah, that does sound nice.
I'm there. That's my kind of specialty fridge.
No, you should have been aware of that from Pushing Daisies, didn't they? Didn't poor
Maybe.
Charlotte think that fridges were only meant for cheese? Is that's what her aunts kept in there? I'm in the midst of a rewatch.
Sure, it's been a while since I've watched Pushing Daisies, but I could totally see myself have felt that way back then and forgot about it. But I imagine this being like those little wine fridges, and it's like little compartments, and it's like, this is where the brie gets stored at the perfect temperature. This is for the Gruyere. This is for the mozzarella. Like, you've got your little like specialty degrees of cooling for each cheese to keep them.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah,
I like it too.
Yeah.
Well, as we transition here, as we do that, let's say hi to the Parker Show.
Hey,
Thanks for
Parker Show.
watching. But now we're going to move to another Disney Plus show. So, Rebecca, if you'll tell us about the latest, The Bad Batch.
This episode was a little bit more action oriented. It continued to explore the relationship between Omega and the Bad Batch, this group of kind of renegade clone troopers that she's become a part of. They have land on this planet. They are being pursued by the great powers that be now. They're kind of on the radar in that way, so they're trying to keep a low profile, but they need rations and repairs, so they're on this planet. When they get there, it's clear that there are people who are trying to find Omega, and we're not sure why. And it's the bounty hunter that we met on The Mandalorian, played by Ming-Na Wen and voiced by Ming-Na Wen here on the series, Fennec Shand. And she is trying to find Omega. The Bad Batch do not know this, but we do. We see a scene over her shoulder, so it's like, ooh, very, very suspicious. So while the Bad Batch are trying to procure rations and everything, we see Omega kind of on the streets of the town, and she gets distracted by these adorable little furry critters. And one of them grabs a toy she's playing with and proceeds to kind of dash down the street with it. And so she begins to chase. And in that pursuit, she ends up crossing paths with Fennec Shand. And they become friends. But the crew of the Bad Batch, in particular Hunter, is like, wait, hey, where'd she go? And so he starts looking for Omega. And when he finds her, she is with Fennec Shand. It ends up in a fight, which surprisingly, Fennec Shand seems to overpower Hunter, which, given what we know about them as kind of hyper evolved, hyper developed troopers, is a bit surprising. And I personally wonder if it's an intentional nod to maybe the emotional bond he's beginning to develop with Omega. Maybe there's a little bit of a distraction there, but maybe not. Maybe it's just to let us know how really super awesome but bounty hunter Shand is. I can't remember exactly how we end up with this mad pursuit. I guess maybe Omega takes off with in the midst of this fight, because the next thing we know, she's high above the city, hanging from a tower. And
the bounty hunter led her up there, and I'm assuming it was for like some kind of a vehicle to like pick them up.
Yeah,
this planet,
like a rendezvous point or something.
A little Coruscant-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I say, next thing I realize it's like, oh, she's hanging from a platform high above the city. And at this point, you begin to see more of the rest of the Bad Batch are involved in the pursuit, because a couple of them are, doing their secondary story that involves elements of getting rations and things like this. And in that story part, Echo ends up freeing a group of droids who then join them on the Bad Batch ship, and they start helping with repairs there. I'm excited about this because I love droids. So this addition of droids, especially little astromech droid and whatnot, I'm excited. I hope that they get much more of a role as we proceed with the Bad Batch. But Wrecker is the one who ends up saving Omega, as I recall, Alex. And then they all make their way back to the ship. The Bad Batch explains to Omega that you may have thought this person was your friend, but she's a bounty hunter, so she's not. And they take off, and that's pretty much kind of what happened in this episode. We're introduced to Shand. Shand is chasing after Omega. We're not really sure why or who has hired her. We suspect the Kaminoans, which are the people who are developing the clones, but we aren't sure at this point. That's it.
I liked this episode. I felt like it broke the mold of the previous two. I stopped feeling like it's stuck in a formula.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Also, I looked at the avatars on Disney Plus. I hadn't done that in a while, and they added some new ones. And Omega can be your Disney Plus avatar if you so choose.
Oh, very cool! I didn't know that. That's awesome. For me, what I enjoyed about I enjoyed the episode, but what kind of caught my eye with it was the little moments within it that let you see how quickly the rise to power and that transition happened with Palpatine. Now all of a sudden you've got these chain codes that everybody has to have, and your money's been, swapped out and that kind of thing. So you were able to see kind of how quickly that totalitarian nature kind of, pervaded the entire planet system.
Yeah, they're suddenly like illegal immigrants with fake papers.
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
Well, we have another cheese fridge fan. So
of course.
we're all in favor with that.
I'll invite anyone over who wants to partake in the cheese in my cheese fridge,
Say
as
hey to
opposed to
Nathan.
the cheese in my regular fridge, because I will have them in both.
So now I guess we'll go on to Big Shot.
Yeah, so this episode of Big Shot was really fun. It's called Carlsbad Crazies. It turns out that Westbrook has had this huge rivalry with Carlsbad forever, to the point where the losing team's principal of their school has to kiss a pig. And Principal Sherilyn, Yvette Nicole Brown's character, has had to do it 6 years in a row. So she tells Marvin Korn, not this year. You guys have to win. It's not even a question. Meanwhile, everything that happened in the previous episode with Louise's dad has escalated. There's now a petition going around to take his name off the gym, which is her favorite place in the world. People are taunting her. So with all of this chaos happening within the school, they make a decision that students won't be allowed to be at the game because they're going to be protesting. So they just close it off. They do it for Carlsbad as well. The coach of Carlsbad, who's played by Cameron Manheim, ends up having more of a connection to Holly. She was her high school coach who kicked her off the team after she recruited star players from other schools. And so there's this bitterness between the two of them, but she comes in acting like she's a fan of Marvin Korn, and then just starts belittling him. She gets him to show her his championship rings, and then starts to comment about how small his hands are, how small his feet are, how small he is. She likens him to a doll. She starts taunting some of the girls on the court. She's just this huge bully. And then during the actual game itself, they've added cardboard cutouts throughout the stands, kind of like, this is definitely a pandemic episode. This was after they came back from a pause in shooting. But students outside from Carlsbad are chanting "Free Larry," Louise's dad, and they can hear it throughout the entire game. The coach of the Carlsbad team, Cameron Manheim, keeps taunting her about her dad while she's playing. And so and the referee won't let Marvin out of his box to do anything about it. So when students do break through the gym door and keep chanting the "Free Larry," and now they're in the gym, he kind of loses his cool. He walks up to them, tears one of the guy's signs, gets disqualified for the rest of the game. I forgot to add that one of Marvin Korn's friends, who is a recruiter from, I think they said USC, is there looking at Savannah, the player he tried to recruit earlier in the season who plays for Carlsbad, but he convinces him to look at Louise as well while he's there. So he watches this moment where Marvin kind of snaps on a fan and gets disqualified. But with Marvin out of the game, Holly becomes coach basically for the remainder of the game. Earlier in the episode, she had wanted to move Louise down to second position, and he blocked that idea, but she executes it after kind of getting the girls' energy ramped up because they've acted so defeated from the bullying all throughout the game. They're not playing at their best, so she kind of recharges them, changes Louise's position, and then they end up winning at the very last minute by 1 point. So the other principal does kiss the pig. And Holly has her moment of redemption. This was almost a Holly-centric episode, in my opinion, where she got to confront the coach that had kicked her off the team as a kid and was now bullying her players in the parking lot. And in the end of that heated exchange, Cameron Manheim's character tells her she's going to make a great head coach someday. Which was interesting because she also pointed out how weird it must be for her to have been assistant coach, and then the head coach left, and then they bring in a new head coach rather than making her head coach. So, all of that kind of chaos and confusion comes into play. Also, some fun moments on the teacher side. Miss Grint, who's been a problem for Marvin all season, kind of gets her comeuppance a little bit when she is trying to orchestrate the removal of the Larry Grzinski name from the gym. So there was a little bit of a light jab at her in the end, which was fun.
I enjoyed some of the, more nuanced type of conversation that they had within it. One of the interesting, kind of thematic parallels that I found in watching it was that one of the the basketball team player signs the petition saying remove the name from the gym, and Louise takes it very personally. And so there's this kind of discussion of a greater struggle versus having a friend's back kind of scenario. And then similarly with the John Stamos character, who Coach Korn, he knows that there's a bit of an eye on him at the time, but yet he sees how the negativity is impacting Louise. And so he chooses to kind of react in that way, knowing that people are going to perceive it differently because of his track record, and that it may kind of undermine his, ultimate goal of getting back to the NCAA level or the upper level. So I thought that those storylines were kind of interesting, along with the other elements of it, because it's just something sometimes I think we forget that sometimes amongst these like larger moments and larger issues, we also have personal relationships that can come into play as we make these decisions.
Yeah. There's a lot going on, but it never.
But they handle it well.
They handle it really well.
Yeah.
It never feels overwhelming, and I like the pacing of this show. I feel like they keep it moving along, even with adding in all of these extra layers.
Well, Mac, I promise we're going to get to you, but we have one more Alex show first. So let's talk High School Musical, the musical, the series, season 2.
Yeah. So the second episode is called Typecasting. Auditions are on for Beauty and the Beast, and there is a new student named Lily at East High. And at the beginning, she comes up to all of the drama kids and wants to take a picture with them. She allegedly saw High School Musical, was their performance of it, and thought it was really great. She gives the impression that she's just in awe of them. And then when they're in auditions, she is like Broadway quality, has an amazing voice, does everything spot on. She basically Disney bounded as Villager Belle, even with a charm necklace of a rose on it. And then after during a break during the auditions, she goes up to one of the girls, the one from Andy Mack. I'm sorry, I'm bad with character names. But she goes up to her and basically says, like, you and I are the only two that would be even considered for Belle. Like nobody here is of our quality, and kind of wants her to like bad talk all the rest of her friends. And she says, I'm not thinking that way. I think any of these other girls could do just as good of a job as Belle. And so anyway, when auditions resume, somebody during a dance trips and falls, and the new girl Lily makes this remark like, "Are you kidding?" And the drama teacher hears it. So in the end, when they go to post the announcements of who made the cut and what everyone's roles are, Lily didn't get a role at all. And the teacher kind of catches her and pulls her aside and says, around here, it's a supportive group. If somebody makes a mistake, you cheer them on. You don't laugh at them. So she kind of gets hers in the end. We didn't get any views of like Derek Huff's character in this episode or what's happening at the other school. And I kind of have a feeling that Lily is going to change schools and end up maybe playing Ariel in The Little Mermaid, because it feels weird to introduce a character like this here, but then not have her in the show at all. So that's where I expect her to go. We also have, what's her name? Driver's license girl.
Oh, Olivia Rodrigo.
Olivia Rodrigo's character. So she is off
Nina
at her,
or something like that.
Nina, thank you, Ricky and Nina. Nina is off at her boarding school having a really hard time. It's not fun. They don't allow creative expression. She's working on a scene that's dated. I don't think it's Shakespeare, but it's Shakespearean-esque, where just even the way people talk is very different and kind of hard to relate to as a teenager. So she and her scene partner decide to modernize the text so that they can understand it better. But when they get in the classroom and start doing it, the teacher kind of makes a mockery of her, really puts her on the spot. And they put her on vocal rest. So later when she's trying to talk to Ricky, she can't even talk. So it's very clear she is not having a good time. Meanwhile, everyone else is having a great time auditioning for Beauty and the Beast. Ricky was on the fence about whether or not he was going to do it, but he does, and he gets cast as Beast. Ashlyn, who played Mrs. Darbus in the High School Musical, she thought she was going to get Mrs. Potts, but she actually gets Belle. Courtney, Nina's best friend, who wasn't in High School Musical except she subbed in for Gina. Gina's the name of the character I couldn't think of before, when she couldn't be in the first act. She's playing Mrs. Potts. Carlos is Lumiere. Seb is Chip. EJ is Gaston. And there was this weird moment where EJ, like, I think he knew he wasn't going to get Beast, but he like bragged about how I'm not auditioning for Beast, so Ricky can have it because I'm too busy this semester to do it. Big Red is LeFou, Gina's Babette. And then in Marshall's recap, he ends it with Nini is sad and alone. So that's where we leave it. I'm curious to see what happens with Nini's plot line as they go forward. Throughout the auditions, they were singing some selections from Beauty and the Beast, not a lot, but we got to hear bits of music from it. Certainly was popped up a little bit to be more in tone with the other music in the series.
All right.
And that's that on that.
With that, we're going to go over and talk about the new Hulu original Marvel show, M.O.D.O.K, which all dropped at once. So you can recap the first episode, and then we can talk a little bit more about the series as a whole, if you'd like.
I was half expecting you to just be like, "Oh, sorry, we're out of time." But
apologies to Matt Damon.
Yeah, I would try and recap the first episode, but I've already watched the entire series twice now, so it all kind of blends together. I mean, it's that good, it's that funny, it's so ridiculous. For those who are not familiar with the character of M.O.D.O.K, he is just an over-the-top, ridiculous villain with a really big head. I mean, and I mean that literally and figuratively, I guess.
What does it stand for?
He's mostly head.
It is a mental organism designed only for killing, as he points out to you in the first episode. And I do like that you have the option to either binge this show or savor it, like Tony Stark does with the Great British Bake Off, as you learned in the first episode as well. It's just a really funny show. And M.O.D.O.K is the head of AIM, this evil corporation that is dedicated to taking over the world. And his whole goal is to make the world a better place, but obviously doing it in a very supervillain kind of way. And this is really about both that and him like balancing that with his family life. So it's really a typical superhero kind of story. But as far as at least mostly for the comics these days, that's what a lot of those stories are about. But from a supervillain perspective, so it's really interesting. And of course, it is a comedy. It is so over the top, ridiculous, very. I'll just say stupid humor, which is right up my alley. So I love every joke that they throw at us. I would also say it's definitely not a family-oriented show. It is along the lines of something like South Park or Family Guy. I would say that level of humor. So keep that in mind for sure. But yeah, it's been really fun. I mean, it's a fantastic cast. Patton Oswalt is M.O.D.O.K. You got Melissa Fumero and Ben Schwartz playing his kids. Amy Garcia is his wife, and then there's other names throughout, like Bill Hader, Whoopi Goldberg, John Hamm. So I mean, there's a lot of really fun actors in this, and it's so much fun. Like I said, I've already watched it twice. It just came out this past Friday, so.
Well, I'm a big fan of Third Eye Blind, so I specifically watched the second episode because I knew that there was a storyline involving them, and they also have an Amy Mann version of their hit "Never Let You Go." So I was excited to check that out.
Black Hole Sun, won't you come? It is stupid humor, but it's so out of left field.
Yes, yeah.
Because and I would say, unlike South Park, it never gets, at least in the 5 episodes I saw, it never got too perverse with it. There's certainly like innuendos.
Yeah.
But South Park would go really far with like sex jokes, and this doesn't do that as far as I've seen. But it is certainly very adult.
Yeah, there's a couple of lines here and there, but it's definitely not much. Like I said, it's that stupid level of humor where it's jokes, like you said, completely out of left field. Where I mean, just one of them, Ben Schwartz's character comes into the room and says, "Do you like to party? I brought hard-boiled eggs." It's just completely random. It has nothing to do with the story. So it's a lot of humor like that.
Yeah.
And it's really funny. And if you're into that sort of humor, you'll definitely enjoy it. Also, I want to say too that for Marvel fans, there are way more Marvel characters and storylines thrown into this than I ever would have guessed. There's a lot of Easter eggs and just other fun Marvel things thrown in there.
I'm gonna have to try and get GB to watch this.
Yeah, I really love the daughter. It wasn't until the second episode that I noticed that her like hover contraption, because she is mostly head like M.O.D.O.K, whereas the son is mostly human like the mom. And her contraption, not only is it, like a rose gold pink, it's very millennial pink, but it's got like gems on it. It's bedazzled.
Yeah.
It's so funny. She's, M.O.D.O.K's daughter. Her little gem on her head that shoots lasers is a different shape. His is like a hexagon and hers is like a triangle. So funny how they kind of glammed it up for her character.
Does this bum you out that the Offenders isn't happening?
It kind of does. Yeah. I honestly, I was looking forward to the Howard the Duck series that they had planned. And then obviously, I mean, I know they had Hit Monkey in the works, and then there were a couple of others as well. And I wasn't too upset about losing out on those before, but now after seeing this, I definitely would love to see this crossover into other animated series like that. I think it would be a lot of fun. Have Hulu's MCU or MTVU, I guess. Yeah, MTVU
or MSU.
Since you've seen the whole season, is this something that's potentially going to continue, or is this like its own self-contained thing?
Oh yeah, no, it definitely sets up a second season, and it gets real on you. Like it's a comedy through and through, and there's still funny parts right up to the end, but it gets pretty serious on you. It takes a turn, so mentally prepare yourself for that.
Nice.
I do also want to point out too that if you want some more M.O.D.O.K content, keep an eye on our YouTube page, because this guy needs an unboxing pretty soon. So,
and is he specifically from the series, or is that like comic M.O.D.O.K?
No, that is a comic-based M.O.D.O.K. It's the Marvel Legends series. This was announced actually a while back, long before the series came out. So, it's definitely more comic-based.
He looks angry.
The series made me want toys for it because it's so stop motion, and you can like see like the part underneath M.O.D.O.K's nose where like his mouthpiece is changed out as they need to change the shape. I think it'd be so funny to sell toys of that with all those swappable pieces where you can change his expression on your desk.
Absolutely. I would be collecting the whole M.O.D.O.K family right now for sure.
Yeah.
Well, before we go, we usually like to leave our viewers with a recommendation for the coming week. Doesn't have to be something new per se, but just something to watch. So, Mac, do you have anything on tap?
Well, I mean, I'm probably going to rewatch M.O.D.O.K again, but no, I'm still watching from a few weeks back. We talked about Cruel Summer, and I'm really enjoying that series more than I thought I would. It's been keeping me on the edge of my seat.
I need to had a Clerks reference. Sorry, Alex.
But no, I was just saying I need to check Cruel Summer out. I covered a press thing for it, but I never saw the show.
Wow.
I'm so inundated in Disney Launchpad stuff right now. So I'm going to plug Disney Launchpad. If you are lost and don't know where to start, I would say Last Chupacabra is the most Disney of them. It has puppets in it and kind of feels a little bit like a Mexican Muppet-esque short, something you would have expected Jim Henson to do, like 30 years ago. So I really enjoyed that one. Also, Cruella opens in theaters and on Disney Plus with Premier Access tomorrow. I've seen it already, but I'm going to go see it in a theater tonight. So that's exciting.
And Rebecca?
Star Wars the Clone Wars
disappeared into the static.
Just as sorry. Okay. I disappeared for a bit. Apologize.
Mom stuff. It was your turn.
Mom stuff happened in the background. No, for me it is I was taken aback by how much I enjoyed and how much I'm anticipating Mike Tyson, the knockout. It was on ABC. He was kind of on the peripheral of my pop culture, I guess, for lack of a better word, knowledge, because I'm not a boxing aficionado by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, it was very engaging. I thought the format of it was really well done. It also, as a Dan Le Batard fan, I listen to his show regularly. It was fascinating to me to see a lot of the same people who have talked about Tyson on that program kind of appear on this as well. So so for me, in that way, it was kind of a continuation of a conversations that I'd heard little bits of before with that program. So yeah, I'm like I say. So now they like leave you, you know, kind of okay. It's right as he's kind of at the pinnacle of his notoriety, and so I'm interested to see how they handle kind of this second half of his career.
Yeah, I second that recommendation. I watched that. My review of that is actually up on laughingplace.com right now. And yeah, I really like, there's a lot of really interesting stories that I had never heard before that were a lot of fun.
And mine, I'm going to go outside of the world of Disney, although apparently Disney might get mentioned in it. But right after we finish this, I'm going to go watch the Friends reunion on HBO Max.
I can't wait. I have to wait for Doobie to get home.
I remember hearing that it was coming, and then I didn't see a date, and then suddenly today Entertainment Weekly sent an email that said how to watch the Friends reunion on HBO Max, and I was like, don't you just go to HBO Max? But I guess it's here now, so I will watch that this weekend because
we actually were having some trouble utilizing HBO Max last night, and I guess that may have been in part because we happened to be on around the time some of this was dropping or something. So yeah, so it's just we were trying to watch Pushing Daisies.
Oh, everyone else was trying to watch Smelly Cat.
Yeah, apparently.
The Fresh Prince reunion they had me in tears. So I'm wondering if the Friends one will as well.
Well, with that, I hope everyone has a great week. Thanks for checking us out. I don't know if we have a ton of stuff going on tomorrow, but Saturday we will have Disney Trivia Live at 7:30 Pacific. So join us for that. Otherwise, we'll see you later.